Hi, everyone. I'm Cecilia Curtis, and I want to welcome you to the Friendship Tour, where we talk about the true gift of friendship with some of my truest friends. Today's guest is Tamika Brannon from Thomaston, Georgia, but she now lives in Tampa, Florida. That being said, like many of my military affiliated friends, Tamika has lived all over the place, all over the world, even. She's been in Turkey, Italy, Japan, Germany. Have I missed any, Tamika? I don't know.
No, I think you're good.
Yeah, you've been all over the world, had an amazing life. And of course, you've moved all over within the United States too. So, yeah, it's just a very interesting life, which we'll talk more about. But Tamika and I haven't talked in over 10 years. We haven't seen each other, like, other than Facebook, we haven't seen each other's faces prior to today. But when I reached out a few weeks ago, we just picked right up where we left off. And I'm so thankful for friends like that and so thankful for Tamika. Hey, Tamika.
Hey, Cecilia.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for saying yes. I know people are like, on a podcast, what? But thank you. Thank you for saying yes and being so willing and really just being a great friend all these years. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, I always like to ask because it's just fun to go down memory lane. I like to ask, how did we meet or where did we meet?
So I was thinking, I do remember the first time we met. It was in church at the chapel at Yakota. I
Okay.
remember you and Brian walked in. I was like, oh, look at that cute little couple because you guys look like teenagers.
Girl,
And
that was so long ago.
no, you still look the same. Nope, guys still look the same. So I
Oh, thank
remember that. I was like, and I was telling my husband, I was like, hey, I met this nice little couple. He's like, Dr. Curtis? I was like, Doctor? Dr. Curtis. I was like, okay. I was like, see, that's what happens when you age gracefully.
Well, and he has aged very gracefully. That's
Yeah.
true. I honestly wasn't sure where we met. I knew that we
Mhm.
met in Japan. I remember you being at a party. One of our friends was PCSing, was moving
Mhm.
away. I remember talking to you for a long time at that party. So I couldn't remember if I met you at church or if I met you at the party, but that makes sense that we met when I first got there. I do remember that you were very active in the ministry at that chapel,
Yeah.
and I immediately loved that about you and respected that about you, but I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if we met there or at this other party. Do you have a favorite friendship moment? Something that we did together? It could have been 5 minutes, it could have been like a week. Just is there anything that comes to mind?
It's funny. When I was telling that I was going to do your podcast, he's like, you remember when we had our 13th wedding anniversary? Because you helped me with the
Ah,
surprise party. And then we came back to our house for dessert. And my son, he was like 2, 3 at the time. He kept telling your husband, "My Miss Cecilia, my Miss Cecilia."
I know.
It's like, why are we fighting with this man's wife?
I know. I do remember that party. It was such a beautiful night. And your son, he was my little boyfriend. You know, he's what, a teenager now? How old is he now?
14 in the ninth grade.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Yes,
please tell him I said hello.
I
We
will.
didn't have kids at the time. And I don't know, there was just something special about your son. Maybe I was meant to be a boy mom because I just always felt like this attachment to your son. And yeah, he
Mhm.
was like my little man, my little boyfriend. So very, very cute. I
Yeah.
have a favorite friendship moment too. Mine was, I don't know which birthday, but one of my birthdays.
Mhm.
And we were in Germany, and Brian, my husband, had just deployed. I don't
Mhm.
remember if he had deployed a few days before that or a couple weeks before, but I hadn't been alone that long, and it was my
Mhm.
birthday. And you knew that, and you wanted to make sure I had a great birthday. So we got all dressed up, and you had this, I don't know, restaurant in downtown Kaiserslautern, Germany. It
Mhm.
was at the top of this building. It was a gorgeous place, and there were just a bunch of girlfriends that came out to celebrate with me. And it was a really, really special night to me. Like it was a friendship
Oh,
kind of night. And I could have felt sad that my husband wasn't there, but instead I was like, I'm going out. I got my nails done. I never get my nails or my toes and
mhm.
stuff done, but I got like the stuff done. We got dressed up and you volunteered to drive so I could enjoy myself however I wanted to enjoy myself. I'll put it that way.
Like adults
Um,
do.
adult. I could enjoy myself, but I really appreciated that. That was such a thoughtful and friendly and amazing thing to do, and it was really just the tip of the iceberg
Mhm.
in terms of your friendship. But that's what I thought about when I was thinking about our friendship moment together.
Oh, that makes me feel good. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I usually ask people to join me on the podcast because I want to reconnect
Mhm.
and I want to tell them like they're the epitome of some aspect of friendship. And when I think of our military life, and Brian is actually getting pretty close to retirement, that's going to happen for us very, very soon, which I cannot believe. But
Congratulations.
thank you. I know you're on the other side of that now, so you'll have to tell me all about that at
It's,
some
it's
point.
definitely an adjustment.
It is. I'm sure it's an adjustment. It's like something we've been looking forward to for a really long time, but now that we're
Mhm.
getting close, I'm like, wow, this has been a really big part of our life and it's going to be
Mhm.
different going forward. But it is. Military life is so unique and the military is not just a job. It does just become a big part of your life. You move all around, you are usually far from family, you leave a lot of your friends behind. So being part of the military community is just a very unique experience. And I would say our friends, they're just different. Like your friendships when you're part of the military community are just different. You go
They
from
are.
being strangers to friends and like family in
Yeah.
a very short period of time because you have to.
Yeah.
Um, so when I thought about the epitome of a military friend, I really thought about you and I thought
Mhm.
about your husband because you guys were so great. I mean, you were great to me then, textbook military friends, honest, textbook. You were really great to me then, but it's only in hindsight
Mhm.
that I've realized how truly amazing you guys are and you were at the time.
Oh,
So
thank you.
that's what I wanted to say. Like if we don't say anything else, I just wanted to have a chance to say that to you.
Um, that means a
Um
lot. Thank you so much.
and I absolutely mean it. And it wasn't just you, it was all of you. You know, like you were there driving and helping me out and inviting me over for dinner when Brian was gone and your kids were jumping on my lap and being kids
Yeah.
and your husband was helpful. You know, sometimes your husband and I kind of sort of worked together.
Mhm.
Sometimes he kind of sort of worked with my husband. But yeah, you guys are just really, truly amazing. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, those Brandons are good people. They're good people. So I wanted to talk about military life in general.
Okay.
Um, I definitely feel that it's different. You know, I talked a little bit already about how
It is.
you go from being strangers 1 minute to kind of
Mhm.
sort of friends. And then before you know it, this person you met 2 weeks ago is the emergency contact for your kids at the
Exactly.
school. And that's very unique. That's very unique. And
It is.
I think the military life teaches us how to kind of make friends quickly. And at least in the best of circumstances, I think it teaches us how to do that quickly.
I think it teaches us how to blindly trust
Oh, that's good.
because you're
Talk more about
literally
that.
opening up your family, your life to someone that you don't really know. Usually you get to know people, figure out if you trust them, then you open up. But because you're thrown in this situation, it's like vice versa. You open up,
Mhm.
then hopefully you don't do something crazy that got to kick you out the circle.
That's a good point. Like, that's
Mhm.
exactly it. You know, and I think people who are not part of the military community have said things to me like, why are you talking to that person? That person's a stranger. Why do you trust that person? And I'm like, why not? I mean, what choice do you have? And I
Exactly.
guess you're right. I guess it's conditioning. When you go through this situation time after time, every 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you don't have time to not trust people for a year because you're just going to
Exactly.
sit there. You're going to sit there alone and be miserable for that whole time.
And like,
You don't
we
have
don't have
time for
time
that.
to date.
So,
We either gonna be together or not. So yeah.
exactly, you don't have time to date. So you talked a little bit about, blindly trusting people. Is there anything else that you think kind of makes military friendships unique?
I think because you are in a unique situation, like who moves to another country and don't know anyone? Who has children but don't have their family there to help them raise them? So you're like forced into the situation when you have people that's there that's going through the same thing. So you don't have to explain it to them.
Right.
Like, for instance, especially when we're overseas, if I go home, my family, oh, come visit me here, come visit me there. When my military people know, I'm not coming to visit 1,000 people. If I flew 18 hours, the least you can do is drive 30 minutes, the very least.
The
When my
very least.
military family, they understand that.
Yeah.
They make it happen.
Yeah.
But my non-military family, they get upset about it. I'm just like, really? Another example is when we left Germany and we came back to Georgia, my daughter's teacher was living in Georgia at the time. So she's like, I want to come see Tori. I was like, okay. Then she's like, I'm going to take her with me. I'll bring her back in 2 days. I was like, okay. And my biological sister was there. My dad is like, you letting her go with her? Yeah, she's fine. We've known her for years. Like,
Yeah.
but she's her teacher. No, she's a little bit more than a teacher. Like, she'll be back
Yeah.
in 2 days. Like, come down, y'all be okay.
Yeah.
But they just couldn't quite understand that concept,
Yeah.
which to me was a little bit strange because my dad's retired military.
Yeah.
But my sister, I get it because they only lived in California, while in New Jersey, so she never went overseas, never have to depend really on anyone else.
Yeah, I think that needing to depend on other people is so serious. I mean, you're
Mhm.
usually not around family as a military member or a military spouse family member. There's a genuine need that people may not understand. And then there are other things that people just don't understand. I've
Yes.
talked about this in at least one other podcast episode. When we were in Germany, Brian was deployed and I ended up having like a medical procedure. I needed to have a medical procedure. And I was like, okay, which friend can take me? Because it
Exactly.
wasn't serious enough that my family had to fly thousands of
Mhm.
miles, but my husband was gone, and people don't usually have to reach out to a coworker or someone that they've known for a year in such a
Yeah,
vulnerable situation. But that is the situation that we often find ourselves in as military families. So
exactly.
you do have to get in there and you have to find some decent people and find them quickly. And a little bit it was like pray and hope for the best because
You
you don't
don't
know that
know.
you don't know that they're all good, but you do
No.
have to just kind of pray and hope for the
Yeah.
best.
And then the
Yeah,
hard part is you can't let a bad situation stop you from opening up to the next situation.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's the hard
Because
part.
you will just be alone. We've lived here a really long time, but there's some other places we've been and I remember people just weren't happy there.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "But why? It's a great place." But they never went out. They never connected with people. I'm like, "You can make any place great or you can make any place miserable." I think it
Exactly.
is yeah, I think it's usually the people, that have made it great for me, and I have people like you, so we've had a great time. We've had a great
Yeah.
time. I think
Yeah.
there's just also something like there's the genuine need. You need friends, but there's also no one really understands the life that you live. You already kind of talked about this, but
Mhm.
that was never more clear to me than once we had moved back to the United States. So Brian and I were in Japan and then Germany. While
Mhm.
we were overseas, he deployed. And when we moved back to the United States, we were talking to this other couple, great couple, but they were not in any way affiliated with the military. and we were
Um,
talking about some of the places we'd been, and they said, "Oh, you lived overseas, you got to travel, that's great." And Brian said something about deployment, and they turned to me and they said, "Oh, did you get to go to Afghanistan too?" And I was like,
no,
"No,
that's not
that's
how
not a
that works.
vacation. Deployment's not a vacation.
No, I get to stay
That's
home
not what
and
that is."
worry and pray and have
Yeah, a lot
sleepless
of
nights.
worrying.
Yeah,
Exactly. So they just kind of missed, I don't know how, but they just kind of missed the serious
hmm,
nature of the deployment and the being left behind feeling
yes,
for, 6 months, 10 months, a year, depends on the service that you're in. Some people deployed for a year, year and a half, and then came home for a couple months and did the whole
going
thing all
again.
over again. Yeah, do it all over
Exactly.
again. So, yeah, it's a very, very unique life, and you have to make friends at a very accelerated pace.
If you're lucky, they turn to family and you keep them forever.
Exactly, exactly. Well, do you think there's anything that you would want people to know about friendships in the military community or about your life in general? Because most of
So,
the people I think listening are not part of the military community.
so my thing with friendship, my thing with me is I'm from Georgia. I'm a hugger. I'm a friendly person. Like and I'm a guest pleaser. I like everyone to be happy. I like to take
Hmm.
care of people. That's why I work in social services. So for me, it's easy. I will talk to anyone. I don't guard myself. Now, if you cross me, I'm just won't open up to you again, but that
Hmm.
won't stop me from opening up to someone else. I don't hold grudges. I just know the place you at, like what box you need to be in.
Right.
So, and for me, it works. And I realize thing with friendship, you have to realize everyone's not going to be your long time friend. People come in your life for reasons and seasons.
Hmm.
And sometimes the reason is done and the season's up.
Yeah.
So I don't actually don't have a lot of long term friendships, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like like me and you. Like we're
Right.
long term friendships. But there's some people like, hey, we're transitioning, so the friendship transitions, if that
Right.
makes sense. But you have to be willing to let that happen and realize some things you cannot hold on to. They were for that base in that time in your life.
Hmm.
So that was the hard thing for me to learn. But once I learned that, like everything's good. Like we're gonna be friends, we're gonna hang out, and we're gonna ride this train till it goes off the rails, and then we'll get on another train.
That's true. I like what you said about the relationship or the friendship transitioning.
Hmm.
I You're right. I mean, the reason and the season for a friendship. I think we've talked a lot about that in some of the other episodes. But there's always this question of how does a friendship end? Is it over? Is it this? Is it that? I don't think it has to be deemed over. It might just be
No,
transitioning to something else.
transitioning, or it's
Like
just
you and I,
yeah, it's
exactly. I think our friendship was unique because I did know you in Japan, but I wouldn't say we were friends. I
mhm,
mean, I knew you, you were friendly, you reached out to me. I think you were more in your baby mode. I think you had two babies in Japan. I
yes,
don't know.
I did
Um,
because we
yeah,
got through with one, then we had two more, then we went through fertility issues, so it was a
yeah.
lot going on.
Yeah, I never knew that about the fertility issues. I didn't know that. We had our own issues, and that was part of what was going on with me in Germany, but
Mhm,
in Japan too, but in Germany. But yeah, you were in your baby mode. You had these little kids, so I knew you, I knew of you, but we weren't
mhm.
really friends. I don't think there was time for, and I didn't have any kids, so I was like, I'm going to Tokyo. I'm going to, I was
I
living a
remember
completely different life.
you took me to Tokyo to get my hair done
I
because
took
you
you.
yes, because remember your hairdresser were in Tokyo.
Yes, she
And
was.
then you made me an appointment and you took me on the train to Tokyo and then I started going. I just
Oh,
thought about that when you said Tokyo because she
I
had trained in New York.
vaguely, yeah, I vaguely remember that. That was my girl.
Mhm.
I wish I could find her. I've looked for her, but that was my girl. Like she hooked me up in Japan.
Yes.
So I'm glad you got to meet her and experience her awesomeness. I forgot all about that we went to the hairdresser together in Tokyo. But yeah, we were like friendly, but we weren't really friends. Our lives were just different and doing different things. But then we ended up moving to Germany at the same time. It was within a week or two of one another. And I remember seeing you in the mall. Um,
And
and it
that's
was
funny
like,
'cause you live
Tamika.
and then you live 10 minutes from me.
And then we lived super close to one another. We worked close to one another.
Mhm.
But I remember that feeling seeing you in the mall. And I was like, okay, instant best friend. That's two bases in a row, right? That's two bases
Yes.
in a row. We live
And I
down the
always
street from
feel
one another.
good when you get somewhere new and you see someone you know
Yeah.
and they're not crazy. You're like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's so many wonderful moments and things I'm thinking of now. I mean, I think hearing you talk about the hairdresser jogged more memories.
Mhm.
I did not remember that. You know, when Brian deployed, I already talked about how you were super special and very kind to me, but your husband was too. And there's just this one situation that I want to talk about for a second because I think you and I view marriage the same. You know, you
Mhm.
got married pretty young. Brian and I was 23 when I got married.
22.
And yeah, I mean, we were young. We were young getting married. And because I think I was young getting married, we quickly figured out what are the roles we want to play, you know,
Mhm.
and there are some roles that, you know, fine, they're husband roles, and there are other roles, fine, they're wife roles. And I know
Mhm.
some people listening probably don't like that, but that works for me, that works for my household,
It's
and I'm
what works
cool
in
with
your
it.
house.
I'm cool with
Ain't
it.
no
I'm cool with
excuses
it.
for it.
Yep, I'm cool with it. So when Brian deployed, I was like, I can do it. I'm independent. I work. I do this. I do that. I was taking care of everything that needed to be
Mhm.
taken care of. Then one day, Tamika, I came home and there were these white splotches in my house. Like I saw white splotches on the floor. I was like, what is that? So I walked up the steps and there are white splotches on the floor and on the steps. I was like, I have no idea. What is this? All over the house. What is this? Then I got to the top floor, which was kind of like a loft area,
Mhm.
and I had a red couch. And there were tons of these white splotches on my red couch. And I was like, what? You know, so I leaned in closer and closer. And as I got closer to the couch, I was like, is that bird poop in my house? Like, why is there bird poop in my house? Why is there bird poop on my couch? There's a bird in my house. Like, I
Mhm.
just went from being so confused to just completely freaked out. And I would say animals in the house fall into husband category for me.
Yes.
And Brian was deployed. And I just remember grabbing my phone and running into my bedroom. I had no idea where the bird was, but I grabbed my phone, I ran into my bedroom, and I shut the door and I called you. And I was like, Tamika, there's a bird in my house. And you were like, Thad's on his way. And
Mhm.
that's what happened. I mean, he was at my house within 20 minutes. He
Mhm.
was inside for maybe 5, got that bird, and was gone. And I was so thankful. Like, I hated to be such a girly, needy person at
That's
that
not
moment.
needy.
But I also had to be honest with myself and
I don't do
acknowledge
birds,
I don't do birds in the house. That's not my role.
you know?
So thank you to your husband even for just being an amazing friend during that season of my life, for sure. Well, I want to just thank you again for being a great friend, really truly great. And part of the reason I say I didn't realize how great was because I didn't have kids at the time. And at the time, you had 3 little kids and
Yes.
I had no kids. So you were taking care of me. I didn't know until today that you're the type of person that you feel like you want to take care of people. And you took great care of me with 3 little kids and a full-time job and a whole husband to take care of. Like you took care of me too. I remember you saying at least twice. I don't think you said it over and over again, but I remember you saying at least twice that you wished you could find a good sitter so you and your husband could go out to dinner.
Mhm.
And I remember my response was like, yes, girl, I'm going to pray for you on that. Like, I will pray that you find a good sitter. Tamika, at no time did it cross my mind that I should offer to babysit. I promise you, at no time did
No,
that cross my
look,
mind.
no, it's funny.
Um,
No, do not feel that way.
no, but I do. I just feel that way now because I'm a parent, and I know what that feels like to just please somebody come get these kids so I can go somewhere, please.
I know.
Yeah. So I now think about what a giving person you are and the sacrifice that you made at some point to just be able to hang out with me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If I
Mhm.
had it to do over again, I can't even say that I would babysit. I don't know because I probably wouldn't have been a good babysitter.
Which is perfectly fine.
Now
Look,
I'm good. I got you, but back then maybe not. Yeah.
look, it is okay, girl.
Yeah.
Babysitting is not for everybody. Trust
It's
me.
not. It's not for everyone. It's not.
It's not. So there's
Well,
nothing wrong
thank
with
you,
it.
Tamika. I love you, girl.
Love you
And
too. Tell my family I said
yeah,
hello.
I will. I will tell everyone that you said hi, and please tell your family, especially my little Tyler, that I said
I
hi.
will. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Okay. You too.
Bye.
Bye.